Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast. I have an absolute treat for you because I have Dr. Jordan Romano here, and really, he's an excellent physician, has a fascinating journey, and is in the medical expert witness world. I don't think I've had anybody on the podcast yet to talk about that, so we're going to dig into all of that. And as always, you're going to get a feel for something completely different, non-traditional, if you will, but excellent for many physicians, maybe you listening right now, and we'll connect you and all of that. But Dr. Romano, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you a moment to introduce yourself because I want people to understand why I'm so excited you're on the show.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, went to a small liberal arts college, took a non-traditional route to get to medical school. I took a year off and taught high school biology. And from there, I went to medical school at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. Then I did an internal medicine residency at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center up in New Hampshire. Worked on staff there as a nighttime doctor, a nocturnist, for a couple of years. And for the past 12 going on 13 years, have been at Massachusetts General Hospital doing a mix of inpatient and outpatient medicine. And for the past almost decade now, I've been in the expert witness world, and I'm looking forward to chatting more about that.
Yeah, and I'm here for all the things. So you've had this career, and man, as you started talking, I was like, oh, I had a friend who went to that school. I had a friend who did this. I was like, we have so much to chat about, but
It is a small world.
it's a small world. So how did you go from I'm doing inpatient, outpatient, all of this to expert witness? Like, and this is a decade ago, so it's a lot more popular now, even though it's not necessarily popular, but back in the day, a decade ago, I mean, you're like one of the OGs. So how did you get into it?
It was just serendipity. One of my colleagues at Mass General was having I called him at the end of the day. He looked a little stressed, and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "There's a case that I need to get done, and I don't have time for it." He's not a surgeon, so I said, "Well, I can see the patient." And he said, "No, no, no, it's a medical malpractice case." And then he said, "Wait a minute, how long have you been out of residency?" And at that point, I think it was something like 4 years. And he said, "You can do this. Let's go out to lunch." And so I was handed my first case, and so that was serendipity that I happened to be there, and I happened to ask a colleague how he was doing.
So there's no training required for it. Like you're able to just go right into it. Like, so, because somebody's wondering, like, wait, can somebody hand me my own case and I start tomorrow? Or what is that process of going from I'm seeing patients in the office, in the hospital to medical expert? But, and as you probably know, a lot of physicians, we spent a whole decade like trying to get to where we are as far as training and all of that. And so in other fields don't quite identify as experts, right? So when you say medical expert, like I don't have a certificate. I haven't done a formal course on this. What makes me an expert, right? So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I know when you hang around with physicians all day long, you kind of forget that we have a lot of training, and when everybody around you has done that training, it maybe could easily have the perception that it's not that special, but it is. And what I would say is that the legal process defines us as experts. We have expertise in most of us are board certified. I think across the nation, it's something like 90% of physicians have some sort of board certification that's active. To be an expert witness, depending on the jurisdiction, but you typically have to be in active clinical practice. That's defined differently depending on what state jurisdiction or federal jurisdiction, but you need to be actively practicing. And so I am still in active clinical practice. It's changed, and the role that I've provided, just like many physicians' careers, morphs over time. So the first thing is being in active clinical practice. Other than that, it's really a conversation with lawyers, whether on the plaintiff side or defense side, about a particular case. They're bringing something to you, something untoward, unexpected, happened to a patient, and there is a plaintiff side that feels like the physicians were at fault and breached what's called the standard of care. So they had the standard of care is defined as what a reasonable physician would do in that situation. A reasonable clinician with same or similar circumstances would have done in that situation. And so you're just looking at the case and saying, yeah, a reasonable clinician would have done that, or no, they should have done X, Y, and Z, and they did not. And they need physicians to opine on those things. The challenge, as you point out, is it's easy to speak to individuals. People can contact me. I'm sure you'll place my contact information on online for these individuals, or a simple Google search, you'll find me. But you can get a case. The question is, do you know the legal parlance and the cadence of cases? And that's the challenging part. And that's why there have been a number of individuals like myself and that have businesses that help individuals, physicians who are new to this space, grow in it.
Okay, so I know one of the questions, someone's listening right now and they're like, okay, so you have to be practicing clinically, like, for you to be an expert witness. So you just described three things because you're practicing and you're expert witness and you have a business, right? So inquiring minds want to know, how do you make it work as far as time goes, right? Because people are like, I'm already burned out from my one job over here, and now it's going to look like two. For you, it's three. So talk to us a little bit about how you make that all work.
I have a forgiving spouse who is flexible, who allows me flexible time, and you work on the bookends, right? Based on how my life is now, I go back into an office that I rent a few blocks from my house, typically from 8 p.m. to maybe even 11 p.m. Most nights of the week, to do things on the business, review medical records, write reports, work on the business itself. The clinical time can be challenging. You can bookend things, and that's the cool thing about medical expert witness work is there's record review. That's usually the first part of it, and then a small amount of cases go to the next step, which would be a deposition, and that's an interrogation under oath, I guess is the best way to put it. You sit a lot of days, it's like this, it's a Zoom call, and you are asked about your background, you're asked about your expertise, your training, you're asked about case specifics, and then your opinions on the case. And the lawyers will ask you questions for anywhere from 1 hour to I've sat in depositions for 6 hours. And so you have to be very meticulous and very focused during that time, but it's a time that you can schedule. So if you have a practice where you're able to build in some free time or downtime, that's when you can fit in a deposition. Where it gets tricky is when you have a trial. There usually isn't as much flexibility in a trial. It happens during a certain week. You might be able to tell the lawyer, I'm only available Tuesday and Wednesday. I prefer Wednesday, and they make it work. But that's right. It's just having a flexible role. For some specialties, it is hard to do this. For surgical specialties or proceduralists, it is challenging to do this. For an internist or a hospitalist or an emergency room physician or individuals who work in a hospital where it's more shift based, it's a little bit easier. Radiologist, I definitely have an easier time. If you're shift based, you can review these records in off hours. That's what I see most experts do. But it's been challenging but exciting. I enjoy the work. So for me, it's not terribly taxing to work those extra hours. I find it invigorating. It definitely makes me a better clinician when I'm spending all my free time reading about things that have happened in the hospital or diagnoses that are missed. When I'm on service, I'm sharper for sure.
All right, because that was going to lead me to my next question, and some of it will be clinical, some is just life in general. Like embracing this work, what has it made possible for you, right? Like, because and you'll tell me, right? Like, so you've had one aspect, which is you, the clinician, but you, the clinician, now you have the medical expert work, whether that's fulfillment, whether that's revenue, whether that's autonomy, like whatever it is, what has it made possible for you?
All of those things. I think I'm at the point now too. I am building a business, but I'm helping individuals build their practices. I've seen it since the pandemic. There are a lot of experts coming into the space. Not everybody is skilled up or trained up. And I wouldn't say that there are bad actors. They're just maybe out over their skis or doing something they're wading into something they don't even realize they're wading into. And so I really enjoy empowering physicians to build their practice, to get their skills up. And And then what is that? And the ripple effects from that. I have individuals I've mentored. One I was speaking to recently is a cardiologist. He has a real estate portfolio that he's built up that he's excited about, and that's going to lead to him not taking weekend call in a few years. And he has 3 kids, so that was exciting to him. I have another mentee that he bought his second home, a vacation home, and he bought it before he started doing the expert witnessing. And now, I had a conversation over Zoom with his wife, and she was thrilled because now they have enough money to easily afford that second home. And I think that that's what this is about. A lot of it does lead towards finances, but that finances is kind of buying back your time. And that's what I see the most. I think that's where most clinicians are excited. Yes, there is a sort of duty to uphold the standards within medicine, and that's how I see this legal process. But for most individuals, it's once they've utilized that time and there's remuneration from that, it just opens up opportunities to truly buy back some time that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
Yeah, so all of this makes me super happy. I talk about this a lot on the show, but I don't know if we've talked about it. But one of my core mission is I just want to help 100,000 doctors build profitable businesses so they have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on their terms. So we're cousins, okay? Because we're doing the same thing. I love it. I love it.
Fantastic.
So tell me, in your experience, because you've done this for a while, what kind of physician would be a great fit for medical expert witness work?
You need to be good under pressure. I think that's part of it. You need to have a discerning eye. You need to be, um, up to date in your practice. I've had a few people that wanted to get into this work, but they were at the tail end of their career and they weren't really going to be practicing much, and they didn't really want to travel, and they had a lot of tight restrictions. I think you need to be somewhat malleable and flexible. You can be rigid. It's just going to be harder to get the work. The tough part, and you bring up a good point. The challenge with a lot of these cases is there's a long tail to them. So you might get the work, and then you might not be deposed, depending on your specialty, for anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, and then the trial may not occur. I had a case just settle that I took on about 6 years ago, and so that's unusual. But you have to have flexibility, but also understand that it's a long process. And the challenge for a lot of folks coming into this space is, how do you know you like it, or how do you know you're even good at it if you don't have the reps? And so it's not a bad idea to just start. A lot of people want to start and go gangbusters, and that's hard. I think that's hard to do if you just don't even know you like it. You may not enjoy doing this. You may not enjoy being deposed. I've been doing this for a while. My wife knows when I'm done depositions, I kind of go out to dinner by myself or hang out with a colleague. I need to decompress because they're not yelling at you, but you are being questioned over and over again for hours on end. It's mentally exhausting, but exhilarating. I think that it's fun to be challenged. It's different than medicine. So I think it's an individual who is, I don't know, I think most physicians should take a look at it and see if it's something they would enjoy. For some people, it's a hard stop. For some people, I will say their institution doesn't allow it. So maybe if you're in private practice, obviously you're your own employer, you're allowing yourself to do it. But there are academic institutions that do not let physicians practice in medical expert witnessing. So I would say first check with your employer to make sure it's something you're allowed to do. And then you have to be careful of conflicts of interest. I don't take any cases in the states surrounding Massachusetts or within Massachusetts just based on conflicts. And then anytime a case is brought up to you, you need to be careful to make sure there aren't any obvious conflicts, a friend of a friend or things of that nature. So to me, I think if you're curious, have conversations around it, get your first case, and then slowly see if you have the right temperament for it. There's lots of different personalities in this space, so it's hard to just pin it down on one particular type of person. There are obviously do's and don'ts. If you tend to be an argumentative type individual that does not come across well to a jury, So those are things that you kind of have to tamper down during your testimony for sure.
Okay, argumentative, that would be, I was gonna say that would be funny, but it wouldn't be, right? Like it would be funny,
I
but
mean, these are
it wouldn't
serious.
be at
No,
all.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. You want to be, or I will tell you, and that's a benefit of having conversations with folks who have been doing this for a while. Early on in my deposition and testimony um, opportunities, I might have been a little bit snarky. I might have been enjoyed the jousting with the lawyers. Uh, it's not funny when they read it to a live jury
Hmm.
that you're cracking a joke and this is a serious matter. I'm not saying I was making light of the matter. I just thought I getting one up on the lawyers was part of the process, and it certainly isn't. I've definitely matured over the years in that regard. These are serious matters. Something happened. There was an unexpected event with a patient, and you're there to really help the justice system figure out it. You know, did this physician breach the standard of care or not? And it's very serious. But most people who experience depositions will see there are moments of levity because after all, we are humans.
Yeah. What you described when you started talking about, kind of like playing the long game and those kind of things, I find is true of everything entrepreneurship. There is, as physicians, I think that's one of the reasons why we can really thrive as entrepreneurs is because we've done the delayed we've done it before. But we live in this very fast microwave, Instagram picture perfect world where people may say, "Oh, I finally found it. It's, medical expert witness work." And then they want results in 30 days, 20 days. And you will get some results, but it's a long game. It's not like this is like fine dining. It's not McDonald's. You know what I mean? And so you bring up a really powerful point, which I think is important. People know that from the beginning. Like we're going to go in, you think about the wins that you talked about some of your mentees getting, like things like this can happen, but I'm in it for the long game, right? Like I'm not going to get discouraged if 2 days later I don't see all my dreams come true. So that's a really powerful thing that you bring up. Now somebody's thinking about this, and I will say I say people say there's no shortcut to success. I'm like, of course there is a shortcut, and it's people who've been there, done that, have 10 t-shirts. You learn from them, and then you don't have to do what they did, right? And so somebody may be thinking about this. I want you to talk about how you support people, how they can find you in that process. And guys, listen, people are your shortcut. Okay. So if he's done this for a decade, you can get all that experience condensed, and then you can learn from all his mistakes. You'll pick new mistakes to make, but they'll be like, advanced advanced mistakes, not those mistakes. So talk to that person for a little bit.
Yeah, I would say it's over. When I started out, I wasn't too dissimilar from anyone else who's contemplating doing this. I had individuals come up to me and say, I'll mentor you, and it's going to cost about this much, and how about doing this ad? And I just looked at the finances completely differently. And once I locked into one mentor that I have that I still chat with several times a year for several hours at a clip. He basically said you have to run this like a business if you're going to take it seriously, and the numbers are not insignificant when you look at this over a 15, 20-year plus career in doing expert witnessing or career in medicine, right? Your career can in medicine, unlike other ones, can go a little longer, and therefore, if you can still qualify as a medical expert witness during that time. So, because your medicine career is long, you can participate in expert witnessing for a long period of time. And so, you need to bring individuals on to assist you or have processes that help you. Now, some people may have different targets. They just want to do one or two cases a year, but most people I speak to have goals that are a little bit larger than that, and they're completely reasonable goals to be a little bit larger than that. It is you want to save time, and money has a lot of different values. And one of the things that it can do is it can truly buy you time. It can buy you time back. It can buy you access to individuals And that's one of the things that I continue to do to this day. I invest in myself. I invest in advertising. I invest in mentors. I love meeting individuals like yourself. I spend a lot of time uh, in the meeting physicians and meeting people in non-analogous businesses, like far afield from medicine, just to learn uh, unique uh, perspectives. Because I think in medicine we get locked into, well, I have to learn from physicians, and so I like learning from anyone and everyone. I think that once you like this, once you've dipped your toe in it and you are serious, you can definitely supercharge what you're doing by locking in with somebody who is who knows the path. There's no reason for you to make these same mistakes. There's no reason for you not to suffer alone, I guess is the best way to put it, right? When in need, as physicians, we call people, right? We have conversations in the break room about that tough patient. And so I think when you're entering into this expert witness world, if this is something you want to do, you should reach out. You should start those conversations, and there are lots of opportunities for you to bypass a longer path. I do. It's something I do chat about quite frequently. You have to be careful about turning on the spigot too fast. Your reputation will travel, and you don't want to stumble out the gate. And that's another reason why I think building your community and engaging with individuals who are experienced is important, because you don't want to stumble out the gate. Your reputation is what will get you the referrals, and referrals, I like to say, are a non-linear return on investment. I've got a lot of prior lawyers and firms that I've worked with that pass on my name without me having to send an email or asking for it. And so that's something that I can help, and lots of individuals like myself can help with. So, when somebody is serious about this, I'm at medicalexpertwitness.com. There is a course that I offer there. The vast majority of what I do is what I call bespoke mentorship. Not everybody is the same. Not everyone is the same specialty. Not everyone has the same goals, and not everyone has the same amount of time. And so what I really do is help each individual craft something so that we know what success looks like for that individual. And then I will be there as a guide to help that individual execute around the goals to be successful in this space.
Okay, I cannot tell you how much I love that. So, guys, and I love that you got medicalexpertwitness.com. That is so cool.
I paid some extra money for that one,
Well,
but
you did it.
it's a good site.
You did it. So guys, go check it out. And this is what I will tell you. Our destinies are at the mercy of decisions. And so you may be thinking about this and you're like, oh, I don't know. And like, even though you don't know, I want you to go to the website. Even though you don't know, I want you to start engaging in that conversation so you can explore it. I tell people I had an opportunity to invest in myself and start down this path of speaking, of mentoring, of coaching, of consulting, of podcasting, all of these things. And I could have said, I don't know. And none of these things would have existed today. Like that's how powerful our decisions are. So don't, if you're like interested and you're like, man, you're curious, like explore the curiosity. Okay. So go to the website, go explore the curiosity.
And
Um,
you can sign up. I'm very, yeah, I do. My email address does have a harvard.edu, but I will tell you, I'm very accessible. You can sign up, and I'll give you 30 minutes easily to chat with you about this. Every year I speak with a couple hundred physicians who are interested in the space. I'd love to hear your story, so definitely reach out.
all right, man. I don't know what else to tell you. He's giving he's giving you 30 minutes of his time. That is so generous. I want to say a big thank you. And again, if you're curious, you have absolutely nothing to lose, but you never know what you could gain. Okay, so explore the curiosity. You know where to find him. You know what his website is. Um, Dr. Romano, this has been so, so good. And you and I are going to schedule time to have our own conversation because this is a conversation for everybody who's listening to the podcast. But thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And thank you so much for what you do because truthfully, we do need all hands on deck to kind of rewrite the narrative for the physician community. And it's just such a huge part of making that happen. So thank you for coming on the show.
It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, people, you heard him. Go to his website, go book that call, and I will see you on the next episode of the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast.